Oh boy. If you've been on the internet in recent days, then you may have seen this atrocious video by YouTuber Ask Air. It has many faults, lack of substantial evidence to back up really any claims in the video, makes points that aren't even related to the topic the video is about. Like, he brings up the switching of voice actors because of race issues or race swapping when he's trying to convey reboots being bad without actually ever talking about the storyline or character development that should explain it being bad in the first place. Oh, got it. It's because they're black. One of the biggest shitty points in the video, other than the many racist and ignorant remarks, is the conversation surrounding the topic of reboots and the companies in charge of them overlooking its existing audiences. We have a lot to go through, but first, hello, welcome back to our channel. This channel is shared and run by two twin sisters, so I'll be your host, Star, and my sister Jen will be popping in shortly to assist with some very much needed information. Hey guys, Jen here. Before we move on, let's define what a reboot is compared to a revival, remakes, or even a sequel and spin-off, because Ask obviously doesn't know the difference as he uses examples that don't actually fit his claim. And so the terms end up being used interchangeably. Calling A New Wish a sequel to the original Fairy Odd Parents a reboot clearly shows his lack of understanding. A reboot takes what was originally written and revises it from start to finish to make something new. It's not just remaking what was done before, but restarting it from scratch. So what was there previously does not need to be adhered to, but could be in terms of characters, specific plot points, or the settings. Keep that last point in mind. Examples: many of the Scooby-Doo, TMNT, or Ben 10 installments, Monster High, or She-Ra. A remake is retelling what was originally made, like an updated version of something older while maintaining its main plot points, but it's allowed to add new ideas. Any of the Disney live-action remakes of their animated films, such as Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Cinderella, and the upcoming Snow White and Moana fit this mold. Now onto a revival. A revival takes place in the original storyline with the same characters with the inclusion of new ones, but in the future of that original timeline after its original ending. Fuller House is a good example of seeing a new story after the original story ended. A sequel, a new continued story within a pre-existing world. While it's new and could be separate with the new cast of characters, it usually keeps the same characters, maybe with the addition of some new ones. The story before is at least acknowledged because it would have occurred before in that timeline. Examples: Frozen 2, many of the Harry Potter, Toy Story, or Star Wars sequels, or just basically anything with a franchise. And lastly, a spin-off. It's something new within the pre-existing world, but it isn't a direct sequel of it. Here we have a focus of new characters and a new plot. Creed movies are spin-offs to the Rocky ones. How I Met Your Father for How I Met Your Mother, or the numerous Walking Dead spin-offs. I know that was a lot, but it needed to be said with how much these words have been used interchangeably in recent years. Everything is just a reboot now, when really it isn't. Rebooting TV shows and movies have been a common practice in Hollywood for decades now. As much as many beloved stories in recent years have been redone, Hollywood is very much built on revisiting old stories. We don't see this just with reboots, as revivals and remakes also don't bring anything new. Reboots get the most flack, as many see them as a disservice to the original property. Do not get me wrong, reboots are my favorite thing in the world as well. A lot of them are made not for creative artistic intent, but for monetary gain. A lot ends up falling flat because of their unoriginality, stagnation of new media, and companies playing it safe with what works. Many reboots have failed, but there are two sides to the story, and there have been and probably will be reboots that do good. Good or bad reboots are here to stay, and I think outright saying something is bad just because it's a reboot doesn't really give them a chance and denies that show or movie's potential viewers. Remember when Jen said to put a pin on what a remake is? When she said it doesn't need to adhere to what was previously done before for its new version, it's important because if we circle back to Ask's video, he states this.
Part of a reboot is a fan service that you never really have to deliver to the original fans of the old property. You can't just say you're delivering something new for the current generation while abandoning the people who made your franchise what it is by watching all those years ago. Don't ruin our childhoods for your own creative laziness.
Laziness. Sorry. It's not funny. Moving on.
Oh, don't ruin our childhoods for your own creative laziness.
No, I can't laugh yet. I've got to hold it in.
The point of a reboot is to reintroduce an existing media to a new audience. Keyword, a new audience, and that will be done with changes, because if it wasn't, then all it would be is a remake, and we just go through the same story and the same cycle again. Like it or hate it, no one is owed anything. Just because I'm a fan of the original Monster High movies doesn't mean that G3 reboot is automatically bad, because it's not the original. Can I dislike G3? Yeah. But can I also like it? Sure. But I have to know, as a fan of the original, it wasn't made for me. It was made for new and younger kids to be introduced to characters that I fell in love with in a new way. And so my hatred for reboots has lessened when I look at it from this perspective. The original 90s X-Men TV show, X-Men Evolution, Wolverine and the X-Men movies, all released during different times, which prioritized or captivated different audiences. Same can be said with the numerous TMNT series or Batman shows. I can imagine when X-Men Evolution came out, older fans might not have liked the fact, but I love X-Men Evolution. It was my gateway to the X-Men and their universe as a whole. We all have a fondness for a version because we watched with siblings or on weekends or stayed up late to secretly watch an episode when we weren't supposed to. Maybe a character resonated so much with us, or a situation the character faced and how they dealt with it struck hard, or the hero versus villain dynamic was intriguing to watch. Whatever the reasoning is, why shouldn't a new audience experience something like that in a new and different way? Why should older audiences be entitled to something that isn't made for them, especially when the original media are still there? Unless the media you liked is wiped off the face of the earth and the reboot of lesser quality is what remains, you can still sit in your room and still watch what you like. It's not going anywhere. It's unfortunate that older fans that help bring up the reception of many shows and movies aren't thought of anymore, and that is something I expressed in past videos about Barbie and Monster High. Or if a show comes to an end in favor of a reboot, I can see the frustration, but it's not the end of the world. At my grown age of 21, I can just watch these shows, these old shows or movies, instead of complaining about reboots of my favorite media being bad purely just because it's a reboot without actual other evidence as to why. The old stuff will still be there, so it's time to give up the reins to someone else. I don't want the message for this video to be that you can't criticize a reboot just because it wasn't made for you, because like anything, you will like it or hate it. But my point is, without proving what doesn't work with this reboot either by reviewing it as a standalone or comparing it to its predecessor, your argument will always fall flat in my eyes if it's because, quote, it's bad because it's a reboot. No evidence. Just because it was made and the format ended, however way it did, it makes it automatically bad. Purely hating through a nostalgic lens. Give us nothing, I guess. If the only way you can consume media is through the way it was originally made, and don't like that a reboot isn't a copy and paste version of it, like I stated before, go and watch that if you can't even at least be open-minded. And let's not act like all modern reboots, even ones aimed for kids, are all entirely garbage. Voltron, She-Ra, Mystery Incorporated. I heard DuckTales and the Animaniac reboots were really well received, so there are some good ones, so why generalize? Okay. That was the video. I wrote this in the heat of a moment in like 2 hours, so hopefully the quality isn't bad and I was coherent enough to get my point across. I went to get this house quickly while I'm working on the middle of an X-Men related video, so that explains that. It's incredibly important to always do your own research and make a decision of a reboot yourself instead of watching a video of someone raging online about whatever reboot without any evidence. So yeah, anyways, what are your thoughts on Axe's video? His video is a mess. I'm talking straight up horrible, and Alpha J and Cartoonshi, among many others, they are clowning his ass on YouTube right now, but they made really good videos breaking down that fact, so go ahead and check those out if you have the chance. Not only for his thoughts on A New Wish, but his whole garbage takes as well. Like I'm telling you, it's a whole mess out here, but I'm living for it. Anyways, Ask video was more so the driving force to get me to revisit the script idea I started to write 2 years ago. So let me know your thoughts on everything down below. If you got the extra time, check out my sister and I's online store, also linked down below. And with that, thank you so much for watching. It truly means a lot. And I will see you in another video. Have an amazing day. And remember, stay a kid at heart. Bye, guys.